President Donald Trump and Gavin Newsom have a 90-minute sit-down in the Oval Office. We've got some of the behind-the-scenes details as to what went down. Plus, 2 more buckets of money cut off from California because of the state's extreme far-left policies. We've got the details. I'm Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California and a California state representative representing District 75 in the state assembly. So Gavin Newsom snuck off to Washington, D.C., and I really have to emphasize the words snuck off, because when Gavin Newsom does anything, he's usually like launching people out of cannons up against Velcro walls, lots of parades, a lot of fireworks. But his trip to D.C. was very, very subtle. Could it be that he didn't want his Democrat base to know that he was meeting with Donald Trump, sucking up to the president, trying to beg for scraps, trying to beg for mercy? Because, you know, that's exactly what went down. Let me walk you through yesterday's meeting between Trump and Newsom, because there's not a whole lot that we know about it. Newsom, again, went to Washington very low key, not a lot of fanfare. And after his 90-minute meeting, again, 90 minutes with the president, that's very rare. Almost nobody gets 90 minutes with the president. That's a significant amount of time. So it's a significant meeting. Gavin Newsom did not gaggle with reporters. In fact, I was watching the Twitter feed, and several reporters were remarking how remarkable it was, how surprising it was for Gavin Newsom to turn down an opportunity to get press. Nope, Newsom just quietly left the White House without meeting with reporters. Interestingly, the White House did not put out what they call a readout. A readout is basically a summary of what was discussed in a meeting. No such readout for the Trump-Newsom meeting. Here is the little scripted, choreographed video that Newsom put out for public consumption. Let's listen into how he described the 90-minute meeting on his official Governor Newsom Twitter account.
So here at the White House, just finished a meeting with President Trump, had a very successful day up on Capitol Hill as well, meeting in a bipartisan manner with Republican Democratic leaders.
Hold on. First, he's like, here, I'm at the White House. But hey, let me tell you about all the Democrats I met with today on Capitol Hill, bipartisan. And he has B-roll footage. Now, let me just say, this was not done live because this is a produced video. It's not like he walked out of the White House and said, hey, I'm here at the White House. This is what we just talked about. No. He knew he had to say something because it's really awkward for him to meet with the president for 90 minutes and not mention anything. So he had to put out a scripted video that really put the emphasis not on my meeting with Trump, but let me tell you about how I spent the entire day on Capitol Hill meeting with both sides of the aisle, bipartisanship, trying to make sure we got money for the relief victims, relief for the fire victims. Very choreographed. You just spent 90 minutes with someone you have said is your mortal enemy, someone who, well, Democrats have called him Hitler and Nazi, that he's an existential threat to democracy. But you're lovey-dovey with him for 90 minutes.
About disaster aid and disaster recovery for people impacted by the fires in Southern California. I look forward to more productive meetings, and I look forward to the spirit that defined the meetings of this day, that spirit of collaboration and cooperation, the spirit that finds the best of American people.
Oh, not much about Trump. I'm here at the White House. The T word was not even uttered. There wasn't even a photo of President Trump. Zero zip nada. Let's diminish the fact I spent 90 minutes behind closed doors sucking up to President Trump. And you know he did. Because Trump, it's marvelous. I love watching Trump and everything that he's doing in this second term. He clearly is hitting the ground running because he has the benefit of learning the lessons, the ropes, the hard way in the first administration and all the people who betrayed him. So he's hitting the ground running, and all these liberals are literally running in circles like dogs chasing their tails. Politico has a nice little breakdown of some of the stuff relating to Trump. But let me give you one more clip of Gavin Newsom. It's a written statement that he put out So that was the video for public consumption. It mentions nothing about Trump, just says, I'm here at the White House, and has all these photos of him meeting with Democrats on Capitol Hill. Newsom puts out a written statement, quote, as we approach 1 month since the devastating wildfires across Southern California, we continue to cut red tape to speed up recovery and cleanup efforts, as well as ensure rebuilding efforts are swift. Bitch, please, you haven't done squat. The red tape is as bad as ever. It's all for show. It's all window dressing. As I mentioned on this channel, the Democrats in the legislature have had repeated opportunities to vote on our Republican bills to slash red tape, to suspend CEQA and the CARB regulations for controlled burns and vegetation management and forest management so that we can reduce fuel loads and reduce the risk of wildland fires. Newsom and the Democrats have killed all of those common sense proposals as they have for the past 15, 20 years. And that's the root cause of these fires. The risk, the fuel loads that have been building up in these canyons, the mismanagement of public lands by state and local government agencies, and the prohibition against private landowners for them to clear defensible space. And then as it relates to response, again, Newsom and the Democrats have consistently not allowed the funding to go to first responders so that they're prepared to battle these wildfires. And finally, you want to talk about rebuilding? Not a single bit of red tape or regulation has been changed in the state building code. Anyone who's going to try to rebuild is going to be facing crushing construction costs. And again, that's linked to why our insurance industry is on financial collapse, on death's doorstep. Those are all the issues that have been unaddressed. They are still the same they are as the moment after the fires. And I have no inkling at all. There's no indication whatsoever that Newsom and the Democrats are going to change their far left liberal policies to actually put human safety, public safety first. And I'm sure Trump raised that issue in addition to the lack of water. Of course, Newsom goes on to say, quote, thank you, President Trump, for coming to our communities to see this firsthand and meeting with me today to continue our joint efforts to support people impacted. Fluff. But again, what went down in the 90-minute meeting? What we know went down is that, Newsom and Trump are not necessarily personally against each other. Again, you'll be surprised to know a lot of these politicians might criticize each other publicly on TV, but also be very congenial in person. I have no doubt it was a congenial meeting. But I will also tell you, I have no doubt that Trump took Newsom to task and said, this is what's going to happen in your state. We're going to secure the border. We're going to deport criminals. And if you get in our way, we're going to go after you, state and local officials. We are going to protect girls' sports. We're not going to allow you to put biological males on teams to rob girls of their sporting dreams because it takes away the fairness of the competition. We're not going to put biological males in bathrooms because that's not appropriate or respectful of the girls. We're going to make sure that water flows to Southern California. We're going to make sure that consumers have the ability to buy gas appliances. We're not going to allow you to penalize your working families with sky-high costs for water and energy. We're going to kill high-speed rail. I have no doubt that Trump went through the whole litany of policies. What's interesting, though, is that Newsom, while he has to meet with Trump to see if he can get this money for his state, Newsom also can't be too buddy-buddy with Trump because he's running for president in 2028, and everyone knows it. Politico, I think, has the real pulse here. Newsom doesn't want to become Chris Christie. Remember Chris Christie in 2012? Chris Christie had that big bear hug. I guess he thought that Barack Obama had a dozen donuts under his coat. So Christie in 2012 greeted Barack Obama like 2 weeks before the election or a week before the election when Romney was running with a big old hug in New Jersey. And that was broadcast over this country, and it looked like it was bipartisanship. And of course, Chris Christie is just dog dung, like the white form of dog dung, where it turns white because it's been on the ground so long. That's Chris Christie. I know. I'm sorry, but I loathe Chris Christie. He's just the worst opportunist, principleless politician, just vindictive, nasty. And so Newsom has to be threading a needle here. He doesn't want to be chummy with Trump in the White House because he's, again, going to be exposed as the hypocrite that he is. And I do believe he is a hypocrite. Newsom is only interested in power. And if publicly he attacks Trump, while privately he's cuddling up with Trump, again, that's just the way this guy flies. And he wants to make sure that he can get money so that people don't blame him for getting into a fight with Trump. And I do believe that the voters don't want to see both sides fight. I also believe that the voters would agree with the policy conditions that President Trump and Republicans are pushing for, because they don't want more catastrophic fires. They want to prevent more damage and destruction. And until you change the policies, as I just alluded to, until you force Newsom and the Democrats to change these far left policies, we're going to continue to have fire disasters in this state, and our insurance rates are going to continue to skyrocket, and the cost of living will continue to spike, and people will continue to flee our great state. So the Newsom meeting happens the same day as two big policy announcements. First, Trump signs an executive order banning trans athletes from contaminating girls' sports. Again, this is about fair competition. And he said basically that if you receive federal funding as a school, whether you're a private college or a public university, and you don't comply with the trans ban, you will lose your federal funding because of Title IX. You violate Title IX provisions. This is a very enforceable executive order. But as the San Francisco Chronicle here reports, as Trump orders trans sports ban, California says its rules protecting athletes remain in place. In other words, they're on a collision course with the federal government. And we're talking about millions of dollars in college and university funds, school funding, K-12. Millions of dollars will now be put in jeopardy, and that only will hurt California students. Oh, no, don't blame Trump. No, he's doing the right thing for the girls. Fairness, protecting the equity and the level playing field in sports. You can blame the far left lunatics here in California for dashing the dreams of girls and at the same time taking money from important programs in these school districts. Another policy collision course. The Attorney General Pam Bondi was sworn in yesterday. She immediately signed a Attorney General order pausing all Department of Justice funding for sanctuary cities. Now, this is important because many of these cities in California, all of which are sanctuary cities, receive COPS grants, Department of Justice grants, civil rights grants for a variety of programs, any DOJ grant monies, and there's a lot that goes to law enforcement and the court system. Those monies are now suspended to any jurisdiction that's a sanctuary city. And look, I have to support this because why should we be giving a city money for law enforcement when they are putting their citizens at risk by releasing felony criminals back onto the streets rather than deporting them? Why should we be giving Department of Justice funds to a city that's actively impeding federal law enforcement's efforts? It makes no sense. You don't reward a city for doing bad things. You say, fine, if you think that you have no crime problem, that you can afford to have a bunch more criminals roaming the streets, you obviously don't need our law enforcement grant money. Again, Democrats don't care if the crime rate goes up in California. They don't care about more crime victims. They don't care about the loss of this funding. They only care about placating their rabid far left base that wants open borders and wants to protect criminals. And that message is starting to set in. Here at Reform California, we want to expand that message across the state of California and flip seats. The only way we're going to change policies isn't by, having in White House meetings between Trump and Newsom. It's not by going and asking pretty please. It's by throwing some of these extreme politicians out of office. And that's where Reform California's movement is so important. And I need you to join it. Go to our website, reformcalifornia.org, reformcalifornia.org. Go right now, sign up at the bottom of the site, first name, last name, zip code, email, and your phone so that we can keep you informed as our campaigns roll forward. We're recruiting candidates from school board, city council, sheriff, district attorney, all the way up to Congress and the state legislature. We issue our endorsement guide for all of those candidates, including judge races, every election, and we need to make sure we can get that endorsement guide to you. Plus, we do rallies up and down the state. And we're going to be doing our voter ID initiative, collecting 1 million signatures to put that important measure on the ballot. It's going to be a game changer. Voter ID in the state of California is crucial. Sign up at that website, plus chip in a contribution of any amount to help put fuel in our tank. Until next time, Carl DeMaio, Chairman of Reform California and a California State Representative. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. But before you click away, please subscribe to this channel and click that notification button so you get updated when we post new episodes. Plus, like this video and share it with your friends so that we can help spread our message across the state. Reform California with Carl DeMaio is paid for by Carl DeMaio for State Assembly.